Alright folks, welcome back to another Let's Play Retro Gamer. I was actually going to skip this episode and take a month off, but then this magazine is just so full of great stuff that I'm like, I have to make one for this one, because I get to talk about so many things I like. So as you can see by the really cool cover, this is the Shinobi issue, which already got me going because I actually haven't played that much Shinobi in my life, so I'm eager to get into it. Sorry, I have a bit of a sore throat, so hopefully it won't be too annoying for us. This is a timely piece here. In the last episode, I talked about this game, the G-Aim controller or light gun box, which uses AI to do light gun things. And I said at the time that it was like $400 to get the full set. But here it says the premium package is only 200 pounds. British pounds. So it's like what, $250 probably, something like that. So you basically get the deluxe edition is right here. Oh wait, basic, premium, ultimate, premium. Oh, so maybe I was right. So premium is one gun, and I'm like, well, if you're gonna buy it, you got to get two guns, right? So it's wait, now it says ultimate. I guess they got it a little bit goofed up. Here it says the ultimate package is $199, and here it says the premium package is $200, but that's the premium package right here. So the two-gun version is 200 pounds. So you get two guns and like 4 games, and you plug it into your TV, and you can play light gun games. And so they do a full review here, and they say it's good. It's one of the best light gun devices you can get, which is great. So if you're looking for something like that, get it. I thought about it. I'm still kind of thinking about it, honestly, but it's unlikely. I have so many consoles and so many games to play that, like, I don't know if I need Time Crisis that bad. But it is a good novelty, for sure. This is a cool little read. I wrote little notes now, so I know what to talk about. Nolan Bushnell is one of the co-founders of Atari, or the Atari. It says Mr. Atari himself. I don't know all the details, but I guess if he made Atari, he's also a co-founder of Chuck E. Cheese. Now that I had no idea. The guy who made Atari is also made Chuck E. Cheese, or founded Chuck E. Cheese. So this guy was talking about how his childhood memories of going to Chuck E. Cheese, and how the bigger kids always got the best arcade games, and the littler kids had to play the lesser known games, such as this game in the background called Kaos, which is like this old arcade game that I've never heard of, and I checked it out. And it's a pretty interesting game, actually. It's like, a single screen climber, I guess, kind of like a Donkey Kong. But the way it works is you are this guy and you're catching coins. And if you catch all the coins, you beat the level. And if you catch the coins and you miss one, the coin falls to the bottom. Then the coin becomes like a dragon. And then you have to kill the dragon. So you can either get all the coins or kill the dragons that the coins turn into, if they turn into dragons. And you do that by going up to the top and getting this pyramid, which turns you into a knight, and then you have a sword, and then if you touch a dragon while you have a sword, you kill the dragon. So for the first part of the game, basically, you're trying to catch all the coins, and then every coin you miss, you gotta go up and get a sword, and then work your way down to go kill the dragons. Now, while that's all happening, the screen is moving, and the controls are super slippery and really irritating, and you can fall down and die really easily. And if you touch the walls, you die as well. And it kind of feels like the whole game has ice physics. So, I mean, it's as far as those kind of old single-screen arcade games go, it's definitely a bad one. So what he's saying is true. Like, the big kids took the good games, and then you're left with the bad ones. But looking at it as a piece of contemporary design, it's a pretty interesting game, and I feel like they could remake it, and it would be pretty fun. And on over here, we have the Atari reveals a brand new Atari 7800 version of Pac-Man. So they made a new version of Pac-Man, pictured here, for the Atari 7800, which honestly should be pretty much arcade perfect. I think. Well, not perfect maybe, but pretty darn close. I mean, the screen is big. You can see it's more of a square screen versus the Pac-Man's, narrow screen. And they have this cool yellow joystick, single, like a console that they have with a bunch of Pac-Man versions and some other games. Galaga, Dig Dug, Xevious on here. Pretty cool. And this had me wanting to get back to and play some Atari Pac-Mans. So I played. When I was a kid, my first console ever was an Atari 2600. My dad bought it at Goodwill, and he was broken. It wouldn't work. My dad's an electrical engineer. So he bought a broken Atari from Goodwill and fixed it. And I'm Ukrainian, so we immigrated from Ukraine in 1988. So, like, really that year, my dad found this broken Atari, and, video games back in Ukraine were not really a thing, and I was 7, so I didn't even know anything about it. But he brought this Atari home and got it fixed and turned it on, and I was the first kid in my apartment that had a console at that time, basically. And it was so cool. But I actually had Pac-Man. I remember having and playing Pac-Man, and at the time, I didn't really even know that it was a port of an arcade game. I just thought there was a game called Pac-Man on Atari, and I played it quite a bit. And, at the time, I didn't think it was bad. And if you don't know that a better version exists, it really, as far as Atari games go, it isn't even that bad of an Atari game. I mean, compared to Pac-Man on arcade, it's a terrible version. But on Atari, it controls fine and plays well, and beating levels is fun, and it has sound effects, so not too much to complain about. Then they did release a Miss Pac-Man on Atari, which was so much better. And that's actually, I didn't have that. I found that later, and I'm playing it, now. But that's a pretty good version of Pac-Man that you can play on an Atari and feel good about it. Anyway, if they release this release looks quite good. So, if you're an Atari diehard, I would say worth picking up this little yellow Atari joystick. That looks really cool. Really cool. This is a call out, a promotion of this Gaming Views Pod. It's a podcast that I have not listened to, but I added it to my list. I'm in the middle of listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl right now, so I'm like, I'm in the midst of that whole series, which is a lot of books. So all my audio listening time is tied up right now. But I do listen to video game podcasts when I'm not in a book. So I did add this to my list, but I haven't listened to it yet, so I can't vouch for it. But always happy to have another video game podcast. Check it out. So here's some big news for everybody. Every magazine I do like this, I'm always like, oh man, I can't do Spectrum. I can't do ZX Spectrum. This time I decided to figure it out. Not for any particular game in this magazine. I just decided to do it. And I got it working. So I have, it is finicky, and it often doesn't work, and it takes some time to get it figured out. But I will be showing some Spectrum games. So here, this author talks about this year of Spectrum and how memorable it is to him, and he mentions a lot of different games, most of which I tried. So here's a big list right here. It's Jet Set Willy, Night Lore, Underworld, Sabre Wulf, Trashman, School Days, Pyjamarama, Tir na Nog, and Tornado Low Level. All came out this year, and he remembers playing them all. I played, I'm definitely going to show some footage of this game Trashman, which is on the picture, the art. And I thought it was a racing game at first, but no, literally in this game, you are a garbage man. And you're going, like, it's kind of like Paperboy, where they do a mundane kind of like a job and make it into a video game. Except for, unlike Paperboy, which is fast-paced and arcadey, Trashman is like slow as molasses and the opposite of fun. I couldn't imagine that this game was made. But like what I could perceive of going on is you walk slowly to a garbage area of a house. You pick up the garbage can, and then you slowly walk it to the garbage truck, which is in the middle of the street. And you try not to get hit by cars. And then you slowly walk to the next house. Oh no, then you got to bring the empty garbage can back to where you found it. So I guess there's some skill in like remembering exactly where it was to put it back. And then you walk back across the street to the house, across, and get that garbage and try to dump that into your garbage can, all without getting hit by a car. Maybe there's like dogs and other, hazards later that are kind of like Paperboy. I never got past the first level because the game was so slow. So that game sucks. But then I did play this other game, Sabre Wulf, and I really like that game. Sabre Wulf, I would say, is kind of like an Pitfall, maybe, but it's open world, or top-down open world, kind of like Legend of Zelda. So you're like this little explorer guy, and you're running through a jungle trying to collect treasures. You have a sword, and you fight the various monsters in the jungle. And when you die, it says percent explored, and it seems to correspond pretty closely to how many screens you visited. So let's just say the game is 100 screens. If you explore them all, do you get, or is it every item you pick up? Maybe. I don't know I don't know much about the game, but I do love its look. And Sabre Wulf is a great example of why I love the Spectrum so much, because this stark black background with these really vibrant, solid colors on top, I just really love how it looks, and it's so cool looking. I did try playing a lot of other games like Jet Set Willy and School Days and Tir na Nog, but the controls on a lot of the games aren't very obvious, and you have to look at the manual to understand how to control the game, let alone actually play it. So I didn't really spend the time trying to figure them out. They turn on, but I haven't really played those games. I did play Sabre Wulf for a bit though, and later on I'll play another game from Specty that I played that I'll highlight. But the good news is now in the future, when there are Spectrum games, I'll actually be able to give them a shot. So that's good news for me and for Spectrum fans. Here's another really amazing callback, RogueCraft DX. This is a homebrew modern Amiga release, which was in the last magazine, and I said, I should buy this and try it. It's $20, or $10 actually, just $10 to buy. And you get the Amiga ROM and you can play it. You can also buy a hard version and actually plug it in and play it. But, and then there's an Evercade release right here, so that's pretty cool. If you have an Evercade, you can get that. But, since they did a whole review on it, and this actually comes up in the magazine again later, I bought it. I bought it and I played it, and it is really cool. I played it. There's 3 different characters. There's a fighter, a wizard, and a rogue. The game is a roguelike, meaning it's procedurally generated every level, and there's 3 potions, which are random as well. So there's always a healing potion, which is always the green one. And then there's a red and a blue potion, which every game do something different. And one of them is make you drunk. One of them is clear the screen of all the enemies. One of them is reveal the whole map. I'm just remembering what they do. And then you basically walk around trying to find a key to the door that takes you 1 level down. And that's every level. In the meantime, you get treasure chests to get more hit points and more power. We collect potions. You fight different enemies. I got pretty far. I actually got to some kind of a boss. I don't know if it's the boss, but I got to this tentacle beast. I got to it, and he killed me with the fighter. It was level 15 or something. I forgot how deep I was. And then I did try playing with the rogue, and what's different about the rogue is the rogue has a button which just makes him teleport across the map, across the screen. So if you're in a tough spot with enemies, you can just teleport out of it, and then it has a cooldown of 5 screens or something. It has a cooldown. He has a lot less life and does a lot less damage than the fighter. And then the wizard does less damage and has life still, but the wizard can shoot his projectile, so he can attack from far away. But honestly, I could not get anywhere with the wizard. I got my butt kicked. That being said, I think for $10, if you're an Amiga fan or even a Rogue, like a hack fan, this is a great game. It's really cool, and I'd recommend trying it out. Not very expensive, and it supports the developers, supports the homebrew indie scene. Very interesting game, and I'm glad that I have it now. So. Donkey Kong Bonanza, I hear good things about this. I don't have a Switch 2, but if I did, I'd probably get this game. Oh, back in the noughties, we're looking at March 2009. You can see I circled a bunch of different games. There's another reference to House of the Dead Overkill, which I had footage of me playing with my friend Jake with my Wiimote pistol attachments a couple of months ago. That's a cool game. And then here, I saw Halo Wars, and I don't know what happened with my memory in Halo Wars, but for some reason, I didn't think this game was real. I thought that the story of Halo was originally intended to be a RTS, like Halo Wars. And I've seen screenshots like that, like as if Halo started like this, and then they made it into a first-person game, and then that was Halo. But apparently they also actually released a Halo Wars, which completely missed me. I was the biggest Halo fan in the world during the time and never even looked at Halo Wars. And I love StarCraft, and I love RTS games. So it would have been perfect for me. Anyway, I looked it up, and I could buy it on eBay for $11 or something. So I bought it. I bought it for $11, and I played a couple levels, and it is a cool game. What's the most remarkable about it is that, your knee-jerk reaction will be, oh, wow, imagine StarCraft on a console. And it's probably as bad as you think. Actually, StarCraft is on Nintendo 64, and it is pretty hard to control. The challenge here would be to make an RTS feel at home on a controller, And I think they did a pretty good job, and the way they did it, that I think the changes they've made, and it's hard to say what has been done for the console and what is just a decision. Your town or your town building is all in this one structure. So one structure holds all of your different things, so you don't need to buzz all around like a big map to go to the barracks to recruit soldiers and go to the the vehicle armory to make warthogs. It's all in this one contained place. So that's a good idea, I think, for the movement consolidation. And then there's the bumper selects all units on a screen. The X button has them. The units all attack, move all the time. So as they're walking, they're always attacking. So you don't have to get in a position where you're oh, move over here, and then they just get annihilated by a surprise, ambush. They'll defend themselves automatically. That's a good move. There's really good checkpointing systems where your units will walk well, and there's arrows pointing where to go. So I'm liking it. I'm about 4 levels in, and I'm enjoying it a lot. And every time you beat a level, it tells you your score and gives you a rating. And I'm doing very bad rating-wise, even though I'm getting no casualties and getting all the objectives. You get a skill bonus. So I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm into it. I think it's a great game, and so far I've been enjoying it. So happy that they alerted me to it. Otherwise, I still would have not even known it existed, thinking it was some kind of a lost prototype.
Rolling. Let's roll. Smash 'em. Smash 'em. Let's hit 'em.
I've lost contact with some warthogs on patrol. Keep an eye out for them, will you?
Hoorah. We're going.
Local units.
Moving out. Let's move. Rolling out. Moving out. Let's ride. Moving out.
All units.
Smash 'em. Grenade out. Let's go. Moving out.
Now, Bomb Jack, like the previously mentioned Kaos, is one of these old single-screen arcade games. I know Bomb Jack primarily from its ports. I know like it's a Nintendo game, and it's on a lot of other consoles as well. And I've not liked any of the ports of it. But the arcade game was really fun. I've never played it before, and I don't really get exactly how it works. You jump around, you collect bombs, and if you collect all the bombs in a level, you win the level. So it's a very like Pac-Man in that way. But then sometimes a bomb will be like lit up, like it's going to blow up. And if you get it while it's sizzling like that, while the fuse is lit, the next nearest bomb gets its fuse lit. And if you get that one, it lights the next nearest bomb. So I feel like there's something to only collecting lit bombs in the specific order the level wants. I think, but I'm not sure. I wasn't able to ever do a whole level like it. But yeah, I mean, you jump super high, and you avoid enemies, and you collect bombs, and it's, definitely feels like a Donkey Kong or Pac-Man game, but a lot more freedom of movement. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, I'll definitely happy to have that in my collection, and I'll bring it out when I'm feeling retro like that, those old kind of games. And Bomb Jack, pretty cool. All right, and now we get into the big Shinobi review, where they talk about all the Shinobi games. Now, I will say that I had Shinobi on Nintendo. I had the NES Shinobi, and I could beat it. I do remember beating it, and I played it a lot, and I loved it. I think it's a great game. It's a great port of the arcade game, and I had never played any other Shinobi. I mean, I've dabbled in the Sega Genesis ones because I know they're like the seminal games on Sega Genesis, so I have dabbled in them over my lifetime, but I've definitely never played any other ports of Shinobi 1 or the arcade version. So, here it's like first thing I can do is play the arcade version. So I did that right away to give myself the baseline. Like, first came the arcade, right? So, like, what's that about? And I guess not surprisingly, the first level of the arcade game is exactly what I remember on Nintendo. So the port on NES is very good and very accurate. But yeah, so anyway, the arcade game looks really good, plays smooth. I do feel really weird playing these kind of platformers on arcade. I don't know, they just feel like such a console experience to me that when I play them on arcade, it feels awkward. I don't know what that is, but yeah, it's fun. I liked it. So the arcade version, is a solid game, and it's fun to see where the ports came from, And then we go through, you talk about the power-ups of the games. Here's some more of the arcade action right here. This is a different arcade game, actually. I don't know what that is. This is just as arcade. This is not Shinobi 1. I guess I didn't even realize that the other Shinobis also had arcade. Then I thought they went just to consoles. Arcade Shadow Dancer. Up the Drama. Yeah. Huh. In Shadow Dancer, that's the one where you have a dog, at least on the Sega version. Yeah, so there's a dog there too. I didn't play that one. Well, shoot, I'm going to have to follow up and play some Shadow Dancer on arcade to get a little feel for that. So here's a picture of the Master System version of Shinobi, which is, again, a port of the arcade, which is the same as the Nintendo version. And the Master System version is better than a Nintendo version. The scrolling, when you jump up and down, the screen scrolling is pretty bad. But other than that, the graphics are better. The music is, the same. The way the boss looks on Master System is way better than a Nintendo version. I would say the Master System is maybe the best port of the first Shinobi. The Nintendo is a passable game. Like I said, I had it and I liked it a lot, but I was really impressed by the Master System game. So now we're getting into the Sega Genesis games. So these are ones that I have not spent a lot of time with, and like I said, I dabbled with them, but not really puts any time in. So I was happy to do that. And the first thing I'll say is the double jump is so difficult to do. Like, I really worked hard to... I never perfected it, but I had to play for a while before I really got the hang of the double jump, and it was tough. I imagine that's mastering that is a big part of it. It's kind of like in Double Dragon, where you got to master the hurricane kick, and that's sort of a hard move to do, or the knee in that game. But yeah, the double jump is a tricky maneuver. I wish it was easier to do. But it's the game is cool. It's funny to imagine, like, as a ninja, how not stealthy you are in all of these games. Like that, I think that concept is pretty funny, where you're just like completely walking in broad daylight. Alright, and then Shinobi 3, which is the sequel to Revenge of Shinobi, which is Shinobi 2, essentially. It really is a true sequel. Like, it keeps a lot of the game the same, but makes everything that you didn't like better. Like, the double jump in this one is easier to do. You have just much slicker movement. You can, like, run, which is nice, instead of walking like a robot. You actually feel more like a ninja in this game, which is something that's really missing from these games, is feeling like a ninja. I think in this one they nailed it. And it just looks beautiful. Like, look at this awesome multi-parallax layered forest. There's a lot of really cool bosses in the game. I got to, like, when I in my playing over a couple days, I got to, like, this weird biological mutant head. I don't think I show it here, but there was one boss I just killed there that you saw. Now you're, like, in a cave environment. In a second, we're going to be in like horseback riding, which I think was a really cool stage. The variety is really neat. Yeah, here's the horse stage. Look how cool this is. It's awesome. And like there's ninjas coming off a big kite full of ninjas. That's such a, like a, a trope, like a... it's not even an obvious trope, but just the idea of, like, there's ninjas on a kite and they're jumping off the kite to come after you. It's amazing. Yeah, this is a really great game. I think it's a must-play in the Sega Genesis. Here is Shadow Dancer, which is the fourth game in the Shinobi series, and this one is unique in that you have a white dog at your disposal. It goes back to one-hit kill. The previous two games did not have one-hit kills. You had a life bar. Now you're back to one-hit kills, so it's sort of a real departure and different kind of game. And the dog mechanic, this is the first boss I'm just kind of skipping to, using some of my ninja magic on him. the dog seems really necessary in this game to get through some spots. And like what you do is you charge up the dog, and then you can shoot it. And it jumps, it leaps from your, you know, your side into the enemy and lashes onto them. I'll show you in a second. Here's the bonus stage. You might have seen in a previous on Nintendo, I think I showed the bonus stage where you're shooting shurikens from your like first-person perspective. They kind of went a different direction with it to do a reverse shoot-'em-up kind of vibe. You're jumping down a skyscraper. That's pretty cool. I show that for a second because I think it's neat. So here's my dog. You can see him. So here I'm going to shoot him, I think. If I can figure it out. I didn't, I guess. I will, I promise. Look how cool, like how vibrant the levels look here. It's so like, they're so full, you know, they're so alive. Really nice. You can see me trying to use the dog, but it doesn't go down levels, I guess. And there's a one-hit kill for us. It's a one-hit kill game. It's quite a difference to go from what it was to a one-hit kill. So there was a dog being used. A lot of different varieties of bad guys in this game too, and you got to get used to all of their different tendencies. The spells look really cool. That was my ninja spell. They look really awesome, but as you can see, the one-hit kill nature is tough because you don't really know what... The first time you meet an enemy, you don't know what they're going to do, and then they'll like throw something at you and kill you. But yeah, I think maybe this actually might be my favorite Shinobi game on Sega Genesis, just because the dog mechanic is pretty cool. Like, whoa, look at that. You see where that guy came from? What a surprise. They do mention the Game Gear version here as well. I didn't play it this time because I played the Game Gear version of Shinobi. I don't know, the Game Gear, there was a Game Gear episode that I did it on, so I played that game already, and I said it was quite good. And they mentioned it here again. And also here is the Saturn version, which actually is a game that I played a bit when I first started emulating Saturn. One of the franchises I recognized was, Shinobi, and I put it in. And the game starts with this really cool cutscene. Well, look, really cool maybe is a bit overselling it. I mean, I thought it was cool at the time, but it's just like a cheesy ninja cutscene. I'll play that for you and show you some of the game. So with Shinobi X on Saturn, they went with this kind of pre-rendered graphics look, so it looks like Mortal Kombat with real characters. I wonder if the actor who did the cutscenes is the same actor who did all of this ninja work. Probably is. But yeah, I mean, this graphical style does have sort of a little bit of jank associated with it, but I think it looks pretty darn good in this game. I think the ninja design looks very cool, and it's white instead of black, which, could have been a really bad choice, I think, with the way the contrast works, and it would have been hard to see. But your character being white and the rest of the surroundings being kind of dark, I think looks awesome. The movement is good. You have a lot of different moves you can do. See how when you cut that lantern, it has that slow motion anime kind of a slide off and fall. I think that's really cool. Yeah, a relatively fast-paced game, and it's got blood, it's got gore, it feels adult. It does feel like an evolution of Shinobi, where it goes from the cartoon kind of retro graphics to this more realistic style, and it's good. The game is pretty tough, though. I mean, I got to level 2, and it is hard to play, but I think worth learning. I would have been happy to have this as a Saturn owner at the time, for sure. There was this Shinobi on PlayStation 2, I think, where it's kind of a more modern Shinobi where you have this red scarf that, like, I remember reading about that in magazines at the time where your scarf gets long and you kill a bunch of enemies and then the scarf, like, wraps around them all, and then when you're done, like, something there's some cool effect to it. I remember reading about that thinking that is really awesome feeling, but I never played that Shinobi game. That's kind of like the Shinobi remake, you know, the reboot during the PS2 era. And then here I circled Alex Kidd in Shinobi World, which is an Alex Kidd game, but in, you know, a Shinobi sub-theme. And that was a cool game to play. It actually was as a standalone game, it felt pretty awesome and was very playable as its own thing. I think it's sort of set up as a parody, like a parodius of Shinobi, but I think as a standalone game, it works great. And this is another ad. There's a PlayStation 5, like a release of a new Shinobi game, which looks like a 2D side-scroller, a 2D platformer. And one of my friends actually said he has it and speaks very highly of it. Maybe I'll check it out someday, but I did not for this read. Check out the alternate artwork of this magazine. Who do you think got the better one? This one that I have or this one? You know, I kind of like this one better. I kind of like that one better. I like the sword and the black. But, yeah, you know. Microvision Blockbuster. Look at this thing. I mean, I would have liked it. What can I say? I would have liked it. It's like a little Arkanoid or Breakout game. Handheld. That's funny. Here's a series of games I never heard of called Navy Moves, and then in here they mention Army Moves and Arctic Moves. I did not get my hands on Arctic Moves, but I did play Navy Moves, and somewhere in here, I don't know where exactly it is, but the developer said, yeah, here it is. One of the characteristics of dynamic games was their difficulty, says Nacho Abril. And I'll tell you what, they talk about it, and the difficulty is no joke. Like, I played Navy Moves, and the first level has you in a raft, and you're jumping very awkwardly through these, floating mines in the ocean, and the hitbox is pretty tough to discern, and it took me a long time to get to the point where I'm done jumping over these mines, and now bad guys are coming, and they're attacking me with, like, harpoon guns. And you have to jump over their harpoons, and then you got to have the harpoons coming and also the landmines. And it's like, this is the first level. It's very brutally difficult. But, you know, if that was the only game you had at the time, you play it over and over again, I probably would put some serious time into it and be proficient in beating the first level. But graphically, it looked cool, and it had good sounds. So I think if you get into the game fully, I think the HUD looks really cool. The way it has, like, the dude's face at the bottom. I think it feels pretty cool and Commando-like. And then I went back to play Army Moves, and it was a very different vibe. So Army Moves that's the game that came first. And it's more of like I want to call it a run and gun. You're in a car and you shoot these missiles, and very simplistic gameplay and absolutely hilarious music. But really is more of a tech demo than a game. I guess back then that's what a game was like. I like when they do this comparison to show, especially if I have access to play the game on multiple things, you can see. So there's like a Spectrum version. So I played the Amiga version of this game here. But you can see there's also a Spectrum version, which I could have played. And sometimes there's like a PC version, which might be a DOS version. It's cool to see. It's fun to see like the same game, but different computers. Yeah, look at that. Man. Sweet. Yeah, you can see that RAF level on all these little screenshots. It's very hard. Very tough. Look at this. What is this, a sea monster? Like in a submarine? Man, that is cool. Yeah, interesting. I've never heard of that game before, which is always such a treasure to find a game that, you never heard of that looks cool for you. I mean, this is not a series I'm probably going to go back to, but it's cool. It's sort of like a Contra adjacent game from the out of the UK. Pretty cool. So I'm figuring out what Cover Mount Corner is, I think. It's taken me a long time, but I think they take one magazine from the old days and then look at, I don't know if they look at its cover or just look at that magazine and do a little retro peek into a magazine. In this case, it's a Commodore magazine. I remember some other time it was a PlayStation magazine. Now, I can't emulate Commodore. Never played Commodore before, so I have no nostalgia for any of these games. So I haven't played any of them. But if you see screenshots of a game that you like, why don't you share it with me in the comments? Now, this section right here, it got me excited because I'm aware of Super Sprint, and I'm a fan of Super Sprint, okay? And my experience with Super Sprint is actually when I was in college. I have such a strong memory of this game and many others. Xbox had just come out. Well, not just come out. Xbox was the system that was hot for me at the time. It was GameCube, Xbox, and PS2. And I was in college, and I had just found out. I always like retro games, so I'm always playing retro games. I just found out about the game Midway Arcade Treasures. And I didn't have a car at the time, and I had to go get somebody to drive me to the local Walmart so I can buy Midway Arcade Treasures. I brought it home, and then me and this one friend who's also into retro games, we played all night. We played these arcade games. And one of the games at the time that I never heard of was Super Sprint, which was on that game. Other games on there that were big time was Smash TV. Played that a ton. Bubbles, this weird arcade game called Bubbles, Super Sprint, and those are definitely the three I played the most. There was 20 games on there. Paperboy is on there, I think, too. It was a great card, but I'm not reviewing that card. I'm just talking about Super Sprint alone. So Super Sprint, basically, when I played it, the first thing I'm like, oh, this is just like off-road, like Super Off-Road, which is a game I played a lot and loved on Super Nintendo. Basically, Super Sprint is that. And it was a really cool game where you can play up to 4 players or maybe 3 players in the arcade. I don't know. But you drive a car around the track and you upgrade your car and you get your car more decked out. And you keep playing and there's always different tracks. Simplistic gameplay. You just turn left and right and hit gas. I don't even know if Super Sprint has a nitro. I don't remember anymore. So I was excited to play that, and I very pumped. And then reading through this, they have this other games called this More to Explore, where they look at Super Off-Road. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I never played the arcade version of Super Off-Road. I played it on Super Nintendo and Nintendo. So I'm like, okay, that'll be fun to play. But then other games too, Badlands, Rough Racer, and Indy Heat. Now, Indy Heat, I actually know as on Nintendo, Danny Sullivan's Indy Heat is a hidden gem on the original Nintendo. It's a super good game. I didn't really even realize it was an arcade game. So, it was really awesome, these games. I'll play through them and I'll give you a little in-game commentary on all of those. So here's the arcade version of Off-Road, which is actually very different than the Nintendo and Super Nintendo iterations which I've played. It's different in two ways. First, you get to pick what car you want at the beginning. You can see, if you look carefully, the red and yellow cars are these kind of like dune buggies, and then the blue and gray cars are the more traditional monster trucks. On the console versions, you always have to be the monster trucks. They're just trucks. They're not monster trucks. But you can pick the dune buggy version. I don't know if there's a difference, but the car model is different. Probably it's different. And the other difference here is there's no dedicated nitro button. And this will be true of all the games that I play here. The nitro button is activated by tapping or letting go and tapping the acceleration button. Maybe that's the gas pedal in the arcade. That's interesting because often you're going to take your foot off the acceleration in order to take a sharp turn. And then when you put your foot back on, it counts as using a nitro. So you're going to see a lot of like boosts around corners that are unintentional, but I guess they are intentional. But yeah, I mean, this game was tremendous fun. This is by far the Super Nintendo version is excellent of this game, but the arcade is definitely more fun and has better better everything. The graphics are cooler, the drive's better, the music is better. So I mean, yeah, I've never even heard of the arcade version of this, and it's definitely going to be in rotation now. Now here's another one, Badlands, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the order of how these were released, but Badlands is a much grittier, post-apocalyptic, kind of a Mad Max style racing game. It plays the same as all of them, has boost in a similar way, but this one has a front-facing missile or gun that you have, as well as shields you can buy. So there's a lot of ways to interact with the other racers beyond just bumping into them. Other than that, it's got the same mechanics of upgrading your cars. It's got the shop you go to fill cars out. The courses here have overlapping elevation. Off-road didn't have that. Super Sprint had a little bit of that, but this one, this map, this pretzel map, obviously has a lot of overs and unders, and that does feel pretty cool and lively. And you can see there's tents, a little tented area in the middle, and some of the levels have destructible environments. They have mounted turrets and spikes. There's really a lot going on with this, and my friend and I had a real blast playing this. Rough Racer is kind of an outlier here in that it controls very differently than the other cars. And I mean, it controls the same in that you go left and right and boost, but the control is insanely sensitive here. You can see my red car just having the hardest time. And at this point, this is the last game I played, and at this point, I feel like I got pretty good at these games, but man, this one was really hard to control. The sensitivity was just cranked up too high. Maybe I can fix it in the arcade settings, I'm not sure, but I did not enjoy this one at all playing it. Graphically speaking, it's pretty cool. It has a more cartoonish vibe. It gives me Who Framed Roger Rabbit, yellow cab kind of a kind of feeling. So, and that looks cool. And when you boost into other cars, you like break them. Like they take damage if you boost into them. So that's a cool mechanic. The other games didn't really have. But yeah, I mean, I definitely have to do something with the controls to make this one playable. The real cherry on top of this whole collection is Indy Heat. This game it entered my top 10 best arcade games of all time list after discovering it. Like I said before, I play this on Nintendo, and it's an excellent Nintendo game, and I call it a hidden gem on Nintendo as well. But man, is it so good on the arcade. First off, there's 5 cars, which is the most of all of these games that we've talked about. And it has this awesome, it has the boosters as before, it has car damage, it has tracks with like interactable environments, like there's cones you hit, you can like take shortcuts through different spots, and it has this really cool pit stop mechanic where you can see a car stopping in the pit stop. Your cars have fuel, they get damaged, and you have your turbo, your nitro boosts, and all of these things need to be maintained throughout the race. And some of the races are really long, so some of them are like 10 laps. Some are only 3 laps. So you gotta like really understand what you're doing. Like in this case, this is a 5-lap track. So you have to have a real feel for how many pit stops am I gonna need in this track and where can I take them. Like you want to finish all the tracks at the very last moment. So you want your last pit stop to be as long as possible away from finishing. And you are always trying to think about, well, do I need a really pit stop here, or can I make it that last lap? And then you can also like upgrade your pit crew speed and your fuel tank, which are two additional kind of vertices of how you can upgrade your car. Like you got your classic turning and max speed and acceleration and boost, but also cruise speed and miles per gallon. So really good. It's just one of the funnest games I played. It's such a blast. It's easy to pick up and play. Get a couple friends involved, and this could be a real night, you know? I think it'd be super fun. So yeah, it was really fun to experience those games, the ones that I never heard of. And me and I played them with Jake, and then later, like the same week, another friend of mine came over, Mitch, and I'm like, oh, I got to show you these games, Badlands and Indy Heat, and we played them some more, and had a great time. Really, really fun arcade racers. Highly recommended. And now I'm looking at the Spectrum version of Super Sprint, and I think I might have to go check that out too, because I love the way they look, and I'd be really curious how it plays. So, and then here it says there's a PlayStation 5 version coming in, or not coming, it's been released. It's called Neo Sprint. I wonder if it's available on PS4. That would be really fun too, to see. I love when like old games get, modern re-releases like that. Super cool. Daytona is the most popular, but a very popular Saturn game that I never got into, and I knew it often comes up as like a Saturn must own, and these older 3D racing games feel kind of lame to me now, because it's just there's so much better available that going back to the Saturn to play something that probably aged poorly wasn't something I ever did. But I did go back and play some Daytona, because I never have. So my review of that game is it is fairly clunky and slow to play, but it is arcadey and easy to pick up and try. And I don't not like it, But, you know, again, without any nostalgia for this game specifically, it is hard to justify playing a strictly worse racing game than so many other games that are available. You know, like Outrun 2 for Xbox, or, you know, many modern ones. Obviously, any modern game like Paradise, Burnout Paradise, or whatever that might be. Split Second. There is a code here where you can put in some code and be a horse. That's what this is all about. This is Secret Service. This is all about like the cheats. You can be like a horse as a car. I didn't. I should have done that. I don't know why I didn't do the code. That would have been the thing to do. It's stupid that I didn't. But I just played the game and thought it was fine. Elite 2, Frontier Elite 2. I meant to play this. You know, but it looks like a really in-depth kind of a game that you have to read the manual to know how to play. And I don't have that much commitment to try something like this. But this looks like exactly the kind of game I would have loved back in the day. You know, when I was playing Master of Orion and I was playing Escape Velocity. This is what I potentially could have been playing as well. And I would have loved it. I could see all kinds of things that I enjoy here. You got planets, you got space stations, you got these cool people's faces telling you story exposition. It looks like a, you know, freelancer kind of a thing. There's like planets you can land on. I'll be honest, I actually didn't read this article. I was going to like play the game and then read the article at the same time, but I never got around to it, so I don't actually know what it says. But that game looks cool. If you know what that game's about, why don't you let me know? Here's a puzzle game on Sega, Japan only, called Mega Panel, and he talked about how he had it imported, and he played it. And I did check it out, and I'll be honest with you, like, I played this, you know, a couple weeks ago now, and I recorded footage for it. Looking at it now, I have no memory of how the game plays. So, like, of all the puzzle games I played, I remember it was definitely a playable game, and I beat several levels, but I don't have any recollection of, like, what is it, how is it different than Columns or Tetris? Maybe the gameplay will make it obvious, but definitely a playable game, but nothing worth, you know, getting, I would say. Just play Columns or Tetris or any other puzzle game. Puyo Puyo, maybe. Okay, Magazine Craft with Phil South. I circled this thing over here where he basically said that he made up reviews in the game. He said, "The thing is, I didn't actually have a computer at the time, so I reviewed the games by looking at the cover, reading the instructions, and trying to figure out what they might be like, then reviewing them based on my impressions." So that was like one of the first video game reviewers, didn't have a computer, and had no way to play the games. Now that's hilarious. I mean, he had a long career of being a magazine writer, but that is kind of a funny start. And there's also a part here where he had to get photos of the games. And that always is kind of funny to think about. You know, like now he's just taking a screenshot of a game is not even a concern. But at the time, you know, you had to actually get a camera, and get the lighting just right, take a photo of a game, and like you had to have the exposure has to be long, and the game has to be paused. And it says here they had a special computer set up with the red button that would pause the computer from running. So like an Amiga, you know, whatever the computer is. So they'd run a game and they'd hit a button that would freeze the game, like actually freeze it. So it's like a pause button that's external. And then he had in a dark room, and he'd have a slow exposure camera take photos of the gameplay and then publish that in the magazine. It's funny to think about. And even like throughout like Nintendo Power, you know, taking screenshots wasn't easy. You know, you had to like get a photograph of an actual screen to get those photos in a magazine. I mean, you know, It's just something you don't think about that often. That was a challenge back in the day when they were first in the Wild West of reviewing games. Here's another Spectrum game that I played. Batty, it's called Batty. I immediately love the colors of this game, and it's basically just a breakout game on the Spectrum. But it plays super slick, and I love the way the colors look. And it almost feels like the frame rate is like the animation of the ball, or the frame rate of the whole game is better than most contemporary breakout games. I had a great time with this, and I played it for a while. I was like, oh, I want to see what the other colors look like. The first level's yellow, and it's this bright, like, in-your-face yellow, and then later levels become green, and it was fun to see how they take the colors. And there's some cool mechanics in it, too. There's a ton of power-ups. There's, like, a triple ball. You get a power-up that makes your paddle bigger. The ball gets slower. One gives you a cannon that lets you shoot the blocks out. There's also, like, one that just teleports you to the second level, or the next level, which I actually hit several times in my playthrough. And then even in this picture, there's like this fan in the middle of the screen. And if the fan turns on and off every now and then, if it turns on, it manipulates the direction of your ball. So that's cool. And it's exciting to think about what other sort of obstacles are in the game. Really awesome Spectrum game. Here's a big Final Fantasy VI Ultimate Guide to Final Fantasy VI. I didn't capture any footage for Final Fantasy VI, but I will say that I've beaten the game all the way through twice. And I've started it, like, I've tried playing it on every release, so I played the Super Nintendo version on translated ROM back when I first discovered it, years and years ago. I was in high school at the time, I think, when I first found the translated ROM. Or did I just... No, I just played Final Fantasy III, I think, at the time. Then I played it again later on Game Boy Advanced, which, I thought was the best version at the time. I've since tried it on my mobile device. I got the Pixel Remaster on Steam and checked it out. I played the PlayStation release. When I first beat it, I actually wrote a haiku for every character. This is like my high school self. I'll see if I can dig those up, and I'll flash them on the screen as I'm talking about it. It's kind of funny to think about. But I really like the game. I wanted to just interact with the game more. I really love the characters. What's remarkable about Final Fantasy VI, and they mention this throughout this review, or Ultimate Guide, is that there's no main character. There's like an ensemble of characters, and any of them could be the main character. They all interact with the plot in different ways, and they all have different motivations for what is going on, and they're all equally important, and they all, are going for the same goal. That's really cool. And all of them are different as well, like very different in how they play. This is the game where this guy named Sabin suplexes a train. That's a funny meme. That's a thing that's been memed up. Has a really distinct opening sequence with these big mech knights walking up a field. I mean, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VI, it maybe is the best one. At the time, I definitely said it was the best. Like, I had played 7, and I would say this one's better than 7. I think mostly just because the graphics on it are so timeless and it aged so well compared to 7. Like, nowadays, 7 sort of looks bad, whereas this game still looks exactly as good. And they both have, great stories and great gameplay. But definitely play Final Fantasy VI. I mean, you can't... It's on everything, right? Here's a confusing piece here. Air Combat is the game on review here. But then the first line is, if there's one franchise I've always enjoyed, it's the Ace Combat series. And I wrote down Ace Combat as the thing to try. Only later realized it's actually Air Combat. He talks about how Air Combat is like the little brother to Ace Combat, and it's, a different game. But this was a really fun game. I fired it up, and it's not a simulator. It's not a simulation game. It's really like an arcadey, Air Combat game. It's sort of like, I would say, Afterburner is, an arcade game. Like, all you really do is, there's no takeoff, there's no landing. You start in the air, and it's just like you versus like 3 airplanes, and you fight them. And you do like the simplistic shoot missiles at them, and then kill them. You buy other ships. They all have different stats. They feel different, and you get to pick your favorite ship to use. And I played like 4 or 5 levels of this game, and I am excited to actually play more. So I'm happy they found this. It's really cool. They have a lot of live voice acting, or acting I think is an overstatement, but just the plot or the mission details are read to you in a voice, and it feels all formal. They really like went over the top on the screen transitions and how it feels like you're in the game. So that's really cool. I always think that's interesting and nice, and high production value.
Enemy in sight. Focus on our 6. Jesus, miss! Back one! On our left! Enemy in sight. Up ahead! Enemy locked on target. Fire!
Now, here it is. This is why. When I got to this page, like I said at the beginning, I was going to take a break this month and not do this magazine. Until I got tickled by Super Sprint being in the game, and I'm like, oh, that would be fun to record footage for and have a friend come over and play. But Descent, which is, if you give me, like, if I'm making a top 10 list of best games ever, Descent is on that list. While I'm showing you my various footage from my levels that I played, I want to talk about my history with this game and why it's so important to me. My mom... When I was a kid, my mom is a hairstylist. She worked at Rocco Altabelli. And one of her customers was this woman who worked as like a sales rep for Mac Play Games. Mac Play was the Mac subsidiary of Interplay. And they published Descent among many, many other games. And somehow, she mentioned that, my son loves video games or whatever. And then so she started just giving my mom like these, not for resale copies of games that I guess she would bring to store owners, like, Toys R Us, and say, hey, here's a game you should stock. And she'd give them like a sample version. And then she'd just have these games everywhere. So like once a month, she would go get her haircut and give my mom like a bunch of complete in-box PC games, big box PC games. And some of the ones I can remember was Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, Alone in the Dark, the Alone in the Dark series, and Descent 2. And man, did I love Descent so much. I put that game in and I could not believe how cool it was. The vibes, the music, the whole 3D element of it, the claustrophobic feeling. I played it so much. I played it with mouse and keyboard. I played it with a joystick. I played it 2-player, like where one friend controlled part of the controls and I controlled the other part of the controls. I wanted to share with everybody. And I actually played like not LAN games, TCP/IP games with my 28.8 modem. We connected and played it together. I've actually beaten the first game. I never beat Descent 2, but I did beat Descent 1. A huge fan of it. And I still played it, so I played it, back on Mac, and I'm like, man, I wish I could play it again. Then I learned about the Descent Rebirth series, which they do mention in here, that you can play it now with the source port of Rebirth, and it has higher, better textures and better frame rate, like modern things. I actually have videos on this YouTube channel of me playing Descent Rebirth, like from 10 years ago, probably. I didn't get that far, but I did play it. And then when I got into DOS emulation, I got the DOS version of Descent, And oddly, I like the DOS version better than the Rebirth version, even though, like, obviously the point of the Rebirth version was to improve the DOS version. I actually like the basic version better. So I'm in the midst of a campaign of that now. You're seeing the footage I'm showing you is I have access to many levels because I'm pretty deep in the game. So anyway, huge fan. If you haven't played Descent, you should try it. I don't think it's been done better by any game yet. Like an indoor 3D shooter. And I think indoor really is key there because like X-Wing and TIE Fighter are popular 3D space games that you can, it's three dimensions of movement. And they feel so different. Like, they're good games, and there's nothing bad about that, but it feels so different to be in a corridor in 3D than to be in space in 3D. Like, completely different genres, I would say, even. So, there's a cool line here where they say that motion sickness was a big part of the game's testing, and like a lot of players felt motion sick when they played it, even the testers, and they got used to it. But like they would have a part where they changed the physics of the games a little bit, and even the testers would get motion sickness. So that's cool. They just said, we're gonna have to live with the fact that some people are gonna get motion sick playing the game. Luckily, that's not something that happens to me. Here's a cool thing that I was barely aware of, but a lot of the people from Descent moved on to make this new game called Overload, which was a modern spiritual successor to Descent. Now, I've heard of Overload, but I thought it was just a game that was like Descent that some people made, that fans made. I only found out recently from here that it's actually the Descent people made it. They couldn't afford to buy the rights of the Descent name from whoever owns it now, so they just changed it to Overload, but it is a Descent game. So I actually bought that on Good Old Games, and I started playing it. And yeah, it is. It's very Descent-like with modern, more modern graphics, but very much the same stuff. You got your missiles, you got the flare, the 3D-ness of it. So I'm excited to play that some more, now that I have it in my possession. Really happy that I discovered it. Or, I was prompted to try it with this series that I'm doing.
I have locked onto your position. Stand by for teleportation.
Retro Gamer thinks that this game Sayonara Wild Hearts is going to be a future classic. Not a game I've played or heard of. Definitely looks like it has a cool aesthetic, though. Something to keep your eye on if you're looking for good games. It's on PS4, Switch, iOS, PC. Seems like it's on everything. Jack and Dexter is a game that primarily a PlayStation property, which I was an Xbox kid during that era, so I never played Jack and Dexter, but looks pretty cool. If you have good memories of this game, then let me know what you think. It looks pretty robust, and they have a lot of different games. Looks like here there was a canceled, unreleased PS4 game that I would have had access to. But, would I have bought it? I don't know. Probably not. I don't know much about the series. Dead Space is another series that kind of missed me. I think I was in the midst of a Gears of War phase during Dead Space's rise to fame. It's funny looking at the screenshots. It looks like you could mistake them for Gears of War. I mean, the very distinct costume, of course, is very Dead Space, and that even to me, who hasn't played the game really, but graphically, like thematically and graphically speaking, it looks like Gears of War. The browns, the darkness, the grays, the hulking characters. That was kind of what that time looked like. This is Music Memories, the section, and I don't know much about the music of Dead Space, but apparently it's good, good enough to be featured. Sonic Adventure 2 on Dreamcast. I have never played any Dreamcast games. Never had a Dreamcast, never had a friend who had a Dreamcast, and it's really a blind spot for me. Would be cool to get into that. Here's the other RogueCraft piece. See, it's 2 mentions of RogueCraft. Isn't that crazy? So I'm real glad that I ended up buying it. So there's the Evercade RogueCraft. They're giving it a 91%. So yeah, $10 you can play that game. It's a cool one. And then there's also this Neo Geo Arcade 1 Evercade. Now I played Metal Slug last or 2 magazines ago. But this time, very happy to be able to feature Shock Troopers. I had my friend Jake over to play all those racing games, Super Sprint, and we also played Shock Troopers. We ended up playing through the entire game. Unfortunately, I didn't. Something happened with the audio, and I didn't capture the audio of the game. But I'll let it play at super speed while I talk about it. It's very much like Metal Slug in its like theme and character. It's got beautiful graphics. It's it's got goofy characters and cool animations. Really high, really great pixel detail on the art. But it's a top-down game, so it's kind of like Smash TV with bigger, chunkier characters, and also a melee mechanic. So you can roll to dodge bullets, and if you roll up to bad guys and attack them, you pull out a knife and you stab them. So that's very much like Metal Slug 2. And if you kill them with a melee, they drop these blue diamonds and also often drop food, so you can heal yourself. Also, in this game, you can play it 2 ways. You can play Lone Wolf mode, where you have one character who has a life bar, or you can play it in team mode, where you have 3 different characters, but they all have very short life bars or even one-hit kills, and you have like 3 hits. And every character has a different walk speed, different primary gun, and different special gun. So there's a lot of variety in the characters. There's like 6 different characters you can be. Huge variety in what you go on. You go in like up waterfalls, you hang on lines, you climb a mountain, you go on a boat, you go vertically, horizontally, every direction, diagonally. A lot of variety to it. And the way they do the controls is really good too, where you can tap the control and you shoot wherever you're going. If you hold the controller down, the control, like you tap fire and hold fire, it locks you in that direction, so you can like lock yourself in a diagonal firing pattern. Really cool game. If you are an arcade game fan, an SNK fan, a Metal Slug fan, and you never played Shock Troopers, definitely play it. But definitely do not play Shock Troopers 2, which for some reason, I don't know what happened with that game, but it's so not like Shock Troopers 1. It is different in every way. I mean, it's still a top-down shooter, but the theme is different. The graphics are way different. Like, it feels like a very different company came and did it. Anyway, why am I saying that? It's not featured in here. So, this is the game that I recommend checking out. Here's a little thing on Shadow Labyrinth. It's a Namco official Pac-Man game, but it's not at all like Pac-Man. It's like a survival horror game where it's in the Pac-Man universe, I guess. But you aren't even playing as Pac-Man. Pac-Man's in the game, but you're not Pac-Man. It's sort of like a survival horror Metroidvania where in the Pac-Man world. Very weird. I've never played it, but like I remember it coming out, and I'm like, is this a joke? It felt like a joke game, But no, it's a real game by Namco. That's pretty interesting. Here is Earthion, which is a cool new Sega Genesis era game. It's on everything. It's on PS4, Switch, PC, Steam, and Mega Drive. It's $20. I bought it on Steam. And it is an awesome horizontal shooter. It's got a 94% rating by Retro Gamer. Yuzo Koshiro's company made this game. It's called Ancient. And Yuzo Koshiro, who's the guy who did the Streets of Rage soundtrack, the Shinobi soundtrack, he did the music for this. And I don't know how much involved he is in making the game itself. I mean, he's definitely a producer of the game, but I don't know if he, like... I hesitate to say he made the game. His company made it. He did make the music. As a shooter, it's awesome. It's got like amazing graphics. It's got really, really cool stage transitions where like the way your ship enters and exits the stage. Really well animated and cool and like immersive how those work. There's like tons of layers of parallax in the screens, especially of the cloud level. If I'm showing the footage now of the cloud level, there like count how many layers of parallax there are. It's crazy. The problem with that, though, is there's often, like, there's so much going on in the background, you can't see the bullets. A lot of times I get hit, and I'm like, what even hit me? You can't see the enemy fire. But it's pretty forgiving. Like, you can take a lot of hits before you die. It's sort of like a UN Squadron in that way, where you get hit, and you kind of lose some life. But if you don't get hit a lot in a row, you'll heal up. Really cool game. You carry 2 guns at a time, like a Halo vibe. You can carry 2 guns, and you switch between them. And if you find a 3rd gun, you got to give up one of the guns you have. So that's cool. It was fun to discover, you know, in shooters like this, like what every gun does. It's fun to see what your favorites are, what are the best for every level, that kind of stuff. I will say, though, kind of, you know, the music is good. Definitely not bad. But I left the game not really bopping to any of the songs and not having a desire to listen to the soundtrack outside of the game, which from a Yuzo Koshiro soundtrack is a bit of a disappointment. You know, I mean, it can't only make slam dunks forever, right? But in a second, I'm going to talk about a different game called ZPF, which is very similar to Earthion, and that does have a song that is completely killer, which I'll get to in a second. So here's the homebrew area. This is this cool game. Looks cool, called Nyanja, like ninja, but like a Nyan cat ninja, Nyanja. It looks like a single screen, kind of a bubble bobble kind of a vibe. Looks cool. There's a Pico 8 game called Crew, which I tried to go find, and I just could not find it. Like, I couldn't find the game to try. Maybe I'm stupid, I don't know, but couldn't get it. But yeah, so here is ZPF. This is another sideways shooter, a side horizontal shooter with really cool music, especially this one track that I'm going to play for you in a bit. But in this game, you pick one of 3 different ships, and the ships have a regular fire and then a melee attack. And the levels are super short, and you flash these levels really fast. And there's like a fantasy level, an alien level, and a cyberpunk level. And it looks like you unlock more levels as you go. Really fast-paced game with amazing graphics. And let me play this incredibly awesome track for you that I fell in love with hard in this game. there. So I hope you like that. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Here they talk about their memories with Shinobi and Ninja games in general. Well, again, look, there's an Amiga version of... I'm just looking at this now. There's an Amiga version of... I mean, why wouldn't there be, right? But I also never played the Amiga Shinobi game. Would be cool to check it out and see how similar it is to the Nintendo and SMS version. I'm kind of looking at this. I never realized, I guess, until right now, which is why I kind of paused. I thought this was just a bargain hunt where they just look at games and talk about how much they cost. Like, I thought it was what are the most expensive games. I never really cared about this section because I don't collect physical media. But I'm looking now. These are all the games that are in this magazine, and it's saying how much they cost. So that actually is kind of interesting. So, like, Final Fantasy, £150. Holy moly! I mean, boxed copies, right? Navy moves here. Descent. Complete inbox copy of Descent is $25. Although it's like, why are you trying to get Descent complete inbox? You could buy it on Good Old Games and Steam and Mega Panel, that puzzle game that's hard to remember, for $70. Imagine that. I don't envy physical collectors, that's for sure. Rondo of Blood on TurboGrafx is such a good game. Every Castlevania game is incredible, and I was happy to play this for a bit. I've been trying to beat this game for years, and by what I mean by that is, like, I have this one, quick save that I've been carrying forward, and I'll get stuck on a level and I'll give up and I'll come back to it like months later. So here I am, happy to continue my quest for you guys in this short little gameplay that I'm going to demonstrate. But yeah, this game is really good. There's a Super Nintendo game that, is very similar to this. I think Dracula X. But it is not the same. There's a lot of cut content. This game is cool. What's cool about this game particularly is there's like secrets in it. So you can like carry special items between levels and unlock different gates. And if you do things in a certain order, you get, even other characters. I think you can be Maria in this game. I don't know the game that well, but I think that is really cool and adds a lot of replay value to it. And graphically, though, this game is amazing, and it's got really cool bosses. And the gothic themes are just dripping out of it. Super good. This is, one of the best, certainly the best level-based Castlevania games. Before the Metroidvania vibe happened, this is the pinnacle of that early Castlevania. Here is, I was just looking through these pictures, and I'm like, oh, look at all the games they feature. And it's fun to play them. And starting with Afterburner. Afterburner is a game I played a lot ever since it was on Terminator 2, when they had that, John Connor was playing that when the T-1000 was looking for him at the arcade. And I've seen Afterburner in arcades before, in that big airplane cockpit game. But here's what I'll say about that. How do you play it? Like, the game's impossible to play. I don't get what you do in the game. Like, you cruise around and you shoot your machine gun, which does nothing. There's a missile button which shoots missiles, which locking on to enemy ships seems really hard because you have to hold it on them for way too long to get a lock. And there's like thousands of ships in like, not thousands, but there's like a lot of ships coming at you really, really fast, and they're all shooting rockets at you. You can't lock on to any of them. And you also can't really do anything to dodge the missiles. Like, I don't get what is going on in this game to make it playable. Is it just like a tech demo of how fast and cool the super scaling graphics are, and then you just feed it quarters? It seems like what it is. I mean, it is visually impressive, but like as a game, I don't even get how to be remotely good at it. It's like a quarter thief, big time. Now here is Star Castle, which now there's an arcade. They're showing an arcade version of Star Castle, but I know Star Castle is a Vectrex game, and I'm always happy to play Vectrex when I can. So here I go. I will say though, emulating Vectrex doesn't have the same vibes as the actual vector-based arcade games do, or a real Vectrex would be, because you can't, pixels are drawn to simulate the rays that the games use, the vector graphics the game uses. There's really something special about it, and my only experience with it is here in Minneapolis. There was a museum. They had a video game exhibit in the Science Museum years ago, 6 years ago, and I went to that, and they had a bunch of old arcade games, and they had some of these old vector-based arcade games, like the first Space Invaders, which is a vector-based game. And I stayed there for such a long time playing them because the glow and the straight perfect lines, it's not a pixelated lines. You gotta understand. It's like, I don't know how the tech works, but it draws lines of light from point A to point B, and they're not drawn with pixels. It's just a line of light, happening, a laser. It's so cool looking, and the glow is so amazing. And I did my best to make that glow happen in Vectrex emulation using overlays and shaders. And I did a pretty good job, but there's just no way, there's just no way to really capture what a Vectrex looks like. And that's one of the consoles that it really is worth collecting because it's unique. The technology is unique. And then here is a game called Nibbler, which is one of those old, Pac-Man era, Donkey Kong era games, which I've never played. And in it, you're like a snake that has to eat dots and not eat itself. And there's no bad guys in it, at least not since I played. It's really all about just not eating yourself. So you're planning out a path of how to eat all the dots without dying. And it's simplistic, and the controls are pretty tough, but it's a really cool game that I never played before. It's a classic. I definitely can see why it's a classic. Nibbler. You can see that I highlighted Captain Skyhawk, this game right here, as one to play, but I didn't get around to it. But this is someone writing in to say, hey, have you heard of this guy, Jeff Gertman, who has a YouTube channel where he's playing and rating every Nintendo game? Which is funny because that's actually something that I'm doing too with my... I'm playing every game in alphabetical order and giving them a 1 or a 0 rating. This guy is playing games in random order and just ranking them amongst themselves. So like he'll play a game and go, okay, this is between, game 300 and game 301. Like he slots them in. It's like he's doing he's tier listing them in random order. He does play the games for a lot longer than I do and has a much more successful channel in that regard than me. But yeah, I subscribed. It's pretty cool. And if you like what I'm doing, you should subscribe to him. And if you know him and you like what he's doing, you should check out my channel. Other than this retro gamer play that I'm doing, I also do Nintendo reviews like that. Never heard of this. Like, what's going on here? Mushroom Men: The Spore Wars on the Wii. Never heard of it. Looks pretty cool though. Like, man, look at this rabbit and this mushroom man with like this. Look, it's a corn on the cob. What do you call it? Like the forks to go into the corn of the cob so you can spin it without burning your fingers. He's got that as like a weapon. Pretty cool. So it's like night creatures in the real world setting. You should check this game out on eBay and see if it's like an easy pickup. Some games on Wii are like a big shocker. Like some are like $4, and then some are like $100. I mean, I guess that's true for literally any console, but the Wii is a real grab bag. You know what I mean? And the last game, also, I was gonna try this Total Eclipse. It looks like an arcade shooter sort of game, and I remember Sean Johnson showed this, and I just didn't want to commit to it. You know, I just couldn't commit to it. I played a lot of games for the series, and I'm running out of time. You know, but call this a plug for Sean Johnson's channel. He's a guy that does very nice long form videos on PlayStation games, and he seems to like take playing them very seriously, much more seriously than I take, and he like plays into them quite a bit before doing a very long review of the games. He's got tons of content, so check him out, and he definitely has done this game. So all right, well, that was fun. Thanks for coming with me on this journey of Retro Gamer. This is the September issue. It's currently October, but, you know, obviously I got this at the beginning of the month as last month's issue. And hope you enjoyed that. I'd love to hear your comments, suggestions on anything I can do better, or if you find this content useful. I'd love to hear any kind of feedback. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.